Hi, I'm Karen Cashin, CEO of Tech Alpharetta. I want to welcome you to Tech Alpharetta's Driving Innovation podcast series, where we explore the people and companies that are driving innovation in the city of Alpharetta. And today I have as our guest Dave Albano, President and CEO of RestorePoint, an Alpharetta tech company. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks, Karen. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this morning. So you have pretty much transformed on several occasions RestorePoint by engaging in some business pivots that have changed the direction slightly over time, and helped grow the company tremendously and quite successfully over the course of the four or 5 years since you've been there. So what I'd like to do first is talk a little bit about your background to get an idea of the experience and education you've had that have enabled you to bring the company to where it is today. So tell me, what did you major in college?
So I was a computer science and a math major.
Okay.
So I started my career as a programmer.
Okay.
And I worked for HP for a year, and then I moved over to AT&T and spent about 30 years at AT&T.
30 years, wow.
Almost all outside of programming. So I started there as a computer programmer, and then I rotated through the company. And so like a lot of folks within the big companies, and spent time in marketing and product strategy. So I went through a whole sense of network operations, right? So I got a good technical background, a good business background while I was at AT&T. And prior to leaving and retiring about 5 years ago, I was running the Southeast U.S. for business clients.
Oh, so the entire Southeast U.S.?
Yeah, so it was about a $2 billion business at the time.
Wow. So did that encompass mobile as well as the other business segments of the company?
So everything a business customer could buy from AT&T was what I was responsible for.
Okay. Yeah, that's tremendous responsibility.
Yeah.
And so you retired after 30 years. That was in what year?
In 2015. So
Okay.
I was looking for a change.
Yeah.
So I decided to take an early out package.
Yeah.
Didn't really have a plan. And so I met RestorePoint. They were one of my customers at AT&T. I had about 3,000 customers in the Southeast.
Okay.
So I knew the founder, Abdul Al-Tamimi, and he asked me to come in and invest in his firm and help him with the company to begin to help it, get to the next level. For the first 2 years, I was an investor, and then after 2 years, I came on as the CEO.
Okay. All right. Great. So you joined as an investor in 2015. So you didn't really take a retirement. How long did you actually take between
I made
between
it
gigs?
about 30 days, I would say.
Yeah.
So my wife and I went out and got our sailing licenses and did some fun things.
Right.
And then when I came back, I got right back to work.
Yeah, you were ready to work again, right? And when you joined RestorePoint, what was the focus of the business at that time?
So the primary business and what Abdul founded it on was a backup technology, right? So we were a backup provider. And so we backed up data for customers, in and out of the cloud, at their locations, in our private data center. And then customers said, hey, you've got my data, can you become a disaster recovery location for me? So we bought servers and we spun up servers and we allowed them to recover their data on our platform versus shipping data back to them. And then when I came into the company, we started looking at the business and we realized that backup was starting to go away, meaning the cloud providers were offering backup as part of their cloud solutions.
Right.
So, Microsoft would back up into their own cloud or AWS would back up within their own cloud. And so we started looking at where do we go next. And what led us to the next pivot for us, or the first pivot for us, was that 60% of all recovery of data was a result of ransomware, viruses, malware. And so we started looking at cybersecurity products to say, how can we protect data before it even gets to us? And that led us down a path with Palo Alto Networks, and we became one of their 12 managed security providers in the United States. So one of the things that we look at is whatever we're going to do, we want to be an expert in. Right? And so we didn't say, let's go be, jack of all trades of cybersecurity. Let's go and figure out what's a great technology. And we spent about 6 months just looking at technology. And then we decided to standardize on Palo Alto Networks.
Okay. And so to back up for a sec, when you joined the company, how many employees?
We had 6 employees.
6 employees.
All based here in Alpharetta.
So that was a big change coming from enterprise for 30 years.
Right. Yeah, I had hundreds of employees at AT&T, and I had 6 here, so it was quite different. And the revenue was obviously a lot smaller.
Right.
In our company.
And did you have any concerns about, potential risks of going to work for a startup versus the relative security of enterprise level companies? Was that a consideration at all for you as you considered coming on as CEO?
Yeah, it's funny, as I looked at the different opportunities, I would say RestorePoint was last on my list, right?
Really?
Only because of the size of it.
Yes.
And the risk. But I love the technology, and Abdul, ultimately, like I said, the founder of the company, he is just he's super technical. He's a Georgia Tech grad, and he just had a great vision for the company. He just didn't have the right partners and people around him. And so that was something I knew I could fix.
So it was a great opportunity to come in and lead and bring the company to a whole new stage of success.
Yep.
And so, okay, so let's fast forward to where you left off a moment ago with the technology. You guys made a somewhat of a pivot into the cybersecurity space, partnering with Palo Alto Networks. Were you also developing, or was the company also developing its own IP, its own technology as part of that pivot?
At that point, we were not. But what we realized, so two things led us to our next pivot, right? So our disaster recovery business, what our clients were doing was they were backing up their data to us. So it's a day old, think of it that way. They were loading it up on our disaster recovery servers, and they were beginning to analyze the data, and they were beginning to use analytics on our disaster recovery equipment.
Right.
The other thing we realized is with cybersecurity, it's all analytics. So it's basically collecting data off endpoints, collecting data off network, collecting data out of the cloud, correlating all those logs, right, to figure out, where am I vulnerable or where am I being attacked. And so we started looking at, okay, well, we're really data engineers. Could we get into, right, a data management? Are we really more of a data management company than a backup disaster recovery cybersecurity company? And so we repivoted our company into what I would call data management. And so today, we still do backup for clients. We still have disaster recovery. We have cybersecurity. And now we have a business analytics and an automation platform, which we call Plasma.
And is that platform something that a company would use to actually conduct its data science analytics, or is it for the pre-processing of data so that customers can understand what they have before they move to the data science stage?
Yeah, so our job is really to, when we had the backup business, we used to say we're the coal miners of IT, right? So, so no one goes into college to become the backup person, right? The backup guy at a company. And we look at analytics in the same way, right? So the difficulty in analytics is being able to collect the data and correlate the data, right, so that you could pre-process it in order to analyze it.
Sure.
And what we're really good at is putting that data together in such a format that customers can then be able to consume it, right? And so we do the data engineering piece, which enables the data scientists to do that next level of analysis using our data.
Thanks for explaining that. Then when you guys created the Plasma platform, at that point, was that something that you were developed from the inside using your own staff to develop that platform?
Yeah, so so think of it as a middleware platform, and we use some third-party tools within it, and then we integrate it all together. We fuse that all together, and we have 6 modules in the platform, so we kind of modularized it. The first module is a data exchange, right? That's how we connect to data or collect data from our customers. We have a data warehousing function that we built in-house, and we interconnect that with Snowflake in the cloud. So we could actually make copies of data and move it into the cloud into a Snowflake platform. We have a visualization engine where you can kind of see dashboards and the like. We have a distribution so that, let's say executives just want to get a dashboard pushed to them in the morning. We could distribute that over email in the format that they want. And so we've built all these modules out. So the new module that we're building is a control center, which allows our customers to, actually last 2 modules kind of hook together. It's a control center that allows you to do automation. So based on the outcome of the analytics, you can now begin to automate functions.
Okay.
Right? If I see this event, do this action.
And is that actually something that you have offered now, that module? It's out and available to clients?
Right, so we have customers actually using that module today, and I think that's the most exciting part, right? It's not only to be able to see the data, but to be able to take action against it.
Right. So making these pivots along the way and transforming the company, that's never an easy task.
Right.
It really requires a lot of buy-in from the top down in a company. Were there any particular challenges that you can recall along the way in sort of readjusting the direction of RestorePoint's business focus?
Yeah, and I think for us, the operation is always the big piece, right? So, making sure that we still take care of those clients, right, that enter some of our legacy products.
Right.
And making sure that we have the skill set to make that pivot, right? So, moving from backup and disaster recovery to cybersecurity is definitely a big pivot, right? And there's a skill set issue around that.
Absolutely.
And so we've hired new, we've retrained, the 6 employees that were with us to begin with, and we have 17 employees today.
17, that's
before.
great.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's substantial growth. And in terms of revenue growth, since you've transformed, has that had a positive impact on the company's revenues as well?
Over the last 5 years, we've grown fivefold, right?
Oh, that's
and
great.
So we feel good about that. We focused on paying off debt, right? So we're a debt-free company, and that was important to us, right? Because I think that gives us speed and flexibility in our business.
And it's very unusual to be debt-free.
And we're
at that
privately
size.
held, right? And so
Yeah.
we haven't taken other investor money.
Oh, no investor money at all?
No.
Wow. And what was the impetus behind that? Because that can be difficult for a young company trying to grow,
Right.
To not take investor funding.
Yeah, and it's easy to take it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Because it's there and it's available. But I think the most expensive thing to give up is equity.
Yes.
And we decided that we wanted the flexibility to be able to pivot and not have to have somebody overlooking, right, how we're trying to get there. Because there are some products that we tried to launch along the way that we shut down along the way.
Okay.
And so we failed fast.
Yes.
And I wanted the ability to be able to do that. As we dabbled in things, tried to kind of explore the market, right, to be able to get in and out of a business very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives you the ultimate control and discretion about
Yes.
the direction of the company, which can be really important. So headquartered in Alpharetta.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. I know we're almost at the end of our session, but that's always a point I'm interested in exploring. Why Alpharetta?
So, we all live here and we work here. So, all of our employees are in the Alpharetta area. So that's worked out really well. Our founder, Abdul, is from Georgia Tech, right? So he went to school locally here. But we love the talent pool here. We feel like there's a great engineering talent pool, and I feel like Alpharetta is now a hub for technology. So it actually gives us more desire to be in this area.
Yeah, totally
so that's been
makes
really
sense.
good for us.
And I imagine that you have to find highly experienced technologists, right? You're mainly hiring data engineers?
Mainly data engineers, so we have high salaries and high expertise, and our philosophy is one great person is as good as 3 average people.
So
right?
true.
And so we'll spend the money to get that extra skill set and that extra edge.
Right, and you've been able to find the talent you need out here.
Absolutely.
Great to hear. Well, Dave, thanks so much for joining us today. Congrats on everything you've accomplished to date with RestorePoint, and look forward to seeing where you guys continue to grow in the future.
Thanks, Karen. I appreciate it.